get a quick update from talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs about the rest of the January window. Time running out for Newcastle to do any business. Ben, are they going to do any?
Well, Newcastle effectively have to decide if they want a new defensive target or to bring back a target, because one option is the recall of Matt Targett from Middlesbrough. Now, there is a recall clause, and usually these expire before the final 10 days or so of a window to allow the side that has the player either time to find a replacement or peace of mind that that footballer is going to stay. But in this case, Newcastle have been able to extend the time to activate the recall clause, so they can still bring Targett back. The fact they haven't shows that Newcastle are scouring the market for defenders. One option on the right is Brooke Norton-Cuffy at Genoa, 20 million euros price tag. Newcastle, West Ham, Everton, Napoli, Juventus, all the clubs that have taken a look, and that would be natural cover for Tino Livramento. But the left is a priority as well, and the Toulouse left back, who can also double up at centre back, Diane Mathali, is another youngster that Newcastle United have watched for quite some time. Club Brugge's left back, Joe Kinsey, is another on the list too. Difficult to reach a deal with Club Brugge mid-season, but certainly one on Newcastle United's list. And a young defender at Lecce, Thiago Gabriel, is the third name that Newcastle are looking at. So Ross Wilson, the sporting director, and Eddie Howe with a big decision to make. Do they go for somebody young for the future, bit more long-termist, or do they bring back Targett and then at least have an experienced player that can help Newcastle get to the end of the season and hopefully make a run in the Champions League?
Doesn't look like they're getting a creative midfielder then, Jack, I'm afraid.
Targett came in,
it feels like
did
that
a job for
sailed.
half a season,
Yeah,
and look,
exactly.
unfortunately, I just think that for whatever reason, it's just not happening for him. He's doing well at Borough. Borough doing well. Borough look on foot close for promotion. Let him stay there, and maybe if he does well, they come up. Maybe we can sell them. Sell him to them.
We can look at these fullback targets, if you pardon the pun, in one of two ways. I think we can maybe look at it as Newcastle trying to invest and provide some cover for their fullbacks, because they especially Tino Livramento has had his injury issues, or we can be a bit more cynical and think about the links away from the club that especially Tino Livramento has had, obviously interest from Manchester City, and think maybe they bring in a replacement. I believe that Jack will probably go for the cynical, so I don't know why, I just get this sense. Shaun, how do you see it?
I feel like the mood music is suggesting that Livramento's going to leave. He's not doing a lot to dispel it, even through his people and all of that. It's like, well, the contract talks aren't really happening, and City, there's definitely interest from City, there's no doubt about it. I can fully understand why they want that, because they haven't really replaced Kyle Walker properly, who was obviously
totally agree.
Extremely pacey, effective fullback for a long time for them. I mean, a brilliant player for them, and that is the sort of player you can see dropping in there straight away. I hesitate to say it, but I think we've lost him.
Yeah, it would be a huge miss. The only thing you could say is that injury record has been a massive frustration, and there are long spells of a season where he usually finds himself on the sidelines. Having said that, he's so effective and so good when he is fit and playing. I feel like it would be a real miss if he was to go.
Yeah, I'd be absolutely gutted to lose Tino Livramento. I think that when I think people criticise his attacking part of his game, but I think carrying the ball and dribbling, he's absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, maybe you can argue his crossing could do with a little bit of work, but I think the fact he can play right back, left back, how many players get past him one-on-one? I can think of one in the last year. Antoine Semenyo is the only player I've seen be able to beat him, and Antoine Semenyo could beat basically anyone in a one-on-one duel. So it is starting to feel like we might be coming in the last months of Tino Livramento's time, which is a real shame, because look, he had an ACL, and Newcastle have invested a lot of money and time in him and have helped him develop as a player, and I would hope he would stay for a bit longer, because this is a club clearly still going places, and I do get it. Manchester City are more likely, of course, be in title races, etc. and stuff, and I think you made a good point about they need a long-term Kyle Walker replacement. Matheus Nunes is a midfielder that they've put in at right back. He's actually having a decent season, to be fair, but still, it feels like if they come in with a bid of 60 million or something, I think that would be.
You have to give Trippier another year.
We get 3 new right backs, right, in the summer, right?
Sean Jack will be at the contract signing. He'll be there loving it. We'll get Trippier on the back of his shirt. Oh, I can't wait for that. Sean, just on the January business, we obviously know about the kind of restrictions, if you want, that Newcastle have had in recent windows. We'll come on to that in a bit more detail in just a moment. But are you a bit frustrated that they're only looking at fullbacks in this window?
No, I thought it was really interesting what Eddie Howe said last week about it changes on a daily basis. We sort of tend to think about this PSR as, well, you know what you've got to spend in January, but he's actually saying you have to almost recalculate it every day, every week, to work out whether you've got the money to spend. And you might start trying to sign a player and then realise in a fortnight's time that the calculations haven't worked. I think that makes it really, really tricky. Really tricky. I'm kind of with Jack. I think a creative midfielder would be good. We keep talking about the midfield 3, which is great, but it still does lack that bit of creativity.
You saw that against Wolves.
Tonali's had a bit of an up and down season. I'm not saying dispense with standard Tonali. I'm not saying that. I'm not in Jack's camp when it comes to getting rid of all these players. But it would be great. These aren't easy to find, though. I mean, we even saw with like Florian Wirtz at Liverpool how long it took to adapt. I would say he's going pretty well now.
Yeah, he is.
And he's a 100 and whatever million pound player. That's a lot of money. We haven't got that sort of money. Good creative midfielders, where are we going to get that from? Does that exist in the Premier League that we could sign? Probably not.
Well, I'm hoping. I think one thing Ross Wilson said is, as Sporting Director, he wants to move away from necessarily buying Premier League players and going back to the sort of the signings like Sven Botman and Alexander Isak, sort of players who are doing well in European leagues. So
don't sound McTominay,
but like I don't really.
Well,
McTominay is a fantastic player. He's done brilliantly, hasn't he? So I don't know if he's the creative midfielder, but he scores goals.
He's probably a support striker. He
is.
At times,
he's
really.
Totally...
But if you dropped him, if he played in midfield and he's a surging forward midfielder, we have?
Well, Newcastle been linked with him before, and I remember people actually were fuming that we were linked with him. A lot of people were. I wasn't one of those people, but a lot of people were. Because I understood the perception of maybe what McTominay was at that time at Manchester United, and now looking at him at Napoli, I think people are looking at it very differently. So,
but is that not the sort of player we should be targeting? Because he is probably not going to go to Arsenal or Man City, and he probably would fancy another crack at the Premier League, and he feels like he could be on our radar.
I think that's a bad shout at all.
Yeah.